Today we'll be working on the review for the upcoming test. Identify the focus, the directrix of the graph of x equals negative 1 over 20 y squared. Well, we know that this graph will open up to the left. We need to find the focus, and we have to find the directrix. I know the formula is x equals 1 over 4c times y squared. So I know that 1 over 4c has to equal to negative 1 over 20. So I know that c has to be negative 5 because negative 5 times 4 gives you negative 20. This will give us the focus. So the focus is negative 5 comma 0. And our directrix is x equals 5. Since it's 5 units away from the vertex, it's the same distance from the vertex to the focus, from the vertex to the directrix. Next, it says write an equation of a parabola with a vertex at the origin and a directrix at 5, y equals 5. So we have, this is y equals 5. This is the vertex. There's a parabola. And that's the focus, which is 0, negative 5. And you know that the equation is y equals 1 over 4c times x squared. So you have y equals negative 1 over 20x squared, since 4 times c is equal to 4 times negative 5, which gives you negative 20. What are the focus and the directrix of the parabola with this equation? So I know that it's y equals, and I know that there hasn't been any change in the expression, in equation. In other words, it's not x plus or plus 5. So the vertex is at the origin. The question is, what is the focus? Well, I know the equation is 1 over 4c times x squared. So I know that 1 over 4c has to equal to 1 over 12. So c equals 3 has to be the answer, since 4 times 3 gives you 12. C is the focus, 1, 2, 3, so that's the focus, 0, 3. The directrix is y equals 3. And there's our equation with the focus and the directrix. What is the expression in factored form? So what you're going to do is you look at your 48 and you start listing numbers that will multiply to give you 48. So in this case, we have 8 times 6. We have negative 8 times negative 6. We have 24 times 2, negative 24 times negative 2, and we start adding. And when we add, we're searching for the middle coefficient, which is 14. We do know that 8 plus 6 gives you 14. So that's the number that we're looking for. So now you will write your two binomials. By the way, those are called factors. And you're going to write 8 times 6. So you have x plus 8 times x plus 6. And this is written in factored form. And these are also called the factors. For number 6, we don't want to be working with a negative. So what I've told you in class is you want to factor the negative. So what you have is you have x squared minus x minus 42. Now, if you wanted to check this, all you would have to do is multiply. Negative 1 times x squared, negative 1 times negative x, negative 1 times negative 42, and you get back the expression. Now we will look at negative 42 And we're going to start listing all the factors that we multiplied to get negative 42, which we have negative 6 times 7. We have 7 times negative 6. We have 21 times negative 1. Negative 21 times 1. And then you start adding. Negative 6 plus 7 gives you 1, and that's not what we want. We want a negative 1. We want a negative 1, and that's not it. 7, oh, this should have been negative 7 plus, and that does give you negative 1. So the factors are negative 1, you have x minus 7, and you have x plus 6. What is the expression in factored form? So you notice that each term has a 5 in common. So I'm going to factor a negative 5, since this is negative 5 times x squared, plus 5 times x, plus 5 times 30. And since I didn't want to deal with that negative in my leading coefficient, I'm going to say negative 5 is factored. So you have x squared. Remember, the process of me taking out the 5 out of the expression is called factoring. So I'm factoring negative 5, so it has to be negative x. Because a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So this 5 is out, this 5 is out, and this 5 is out. So this has to be minus 30. Now, if you wanted to check my work, all you'd have to do is apply the distributive property. And you'll notice that negative 5 times x squared gives you negative 5x squared. A negative times a negative gives you a positive 5x. And a negative 5 times a negative 30 gives you a positive 150. Now, we are going to factor this expression. So we're going to take aside the negative 30, and we're going to start listing the numbers that we multiply to get negative 30. So we have negative 5 times 6, or negative 6 times 5. We also have 15 times 2, or negative 15 times 2, or 15 times negative 2. And I'll just stop there for right now just so I can check if there's anything that will work. So we have negative 5 plus 6 gives you 1, and we wanted a negative 1. So we have negative 6 plus 5, which gives you negative 1. So we do have a negative 1 there in our middle coefficient. So it's going to be negative 5. And then this is your binomial. So we have x minus 6, and we have x plus 5. So those are our factors in factored form. Number 8, we're going to factor this. You notice that you first want to check, do we have a greatest common factor? And the only one that we have is 1. So now what you have to do is you have to multiply 3 times 35, which is 105. And then you have to rewrite this expression without the 3. So you have x squared plus 26x plus 105. So you have to look at 105. I know that 3 times 35 gives you 105. Now you notice that you have a 5. So I'm thinking that's divisible by 5. So I'm going to say what's 105 divided by 5, which is 21. And when I start adding these, I want to determine which of these is going to give me 26. So 3 plus 35 gives you 38. That's obviously not going to work. And then 5 plus 21 gives you 26. So what you're going to do now is you're going to rewrite this as x plus 5, and this is x plus 21. And since the 3 was taken out, you have to come back and you have to divide by 3. And so you notice you have x plus 5 divided by 3, and then you have x plus 21 divided by 3 is 7. And now to fix this factor, you're going to go ahead and move the 3 up next to the x. So you have 3x plus 5 times x plus 7. Now I'll be solving this quadratic equation. So I have x squared plus 15x equals negative 56. We want this equation equal to 0. So we'll add 56 to both sides. And you have x squared plus 15x plus 56 equals 0. So we're going to solve this by factoring. Now you could do this by graphing and find the x-intercepts, but just so I can show you in the review, we're going to solve this by factoring. So 56. So we have 8 times 7. The next number you have is 28. 28 times 2. So 8 times 7 is 56, and we have 8 plus 7, which gives us 15. And that's the middle one, so we're going to have x plus 7 times x plus 8 equals 0. So x is equal to negative 7, and x is equal to negative 8. To show you what's happening graphically, the parabolas on this side of the graph, the x-intercepts, because that's what the solutions are, you can say x-intercepts. You can also say zeros. So it's going to be negative 7 comma 0 and negative 8 comma 0. For number 10, we're going to solve again by factoring. We're going to look at 15. And the good thing about this equation, it's already solved for 0. So we're good. We solved for 0. So we have 5 times 3, negative 5 times negative 3, 15 times 1, negative 15 times negative 1. Start adding. 5 plus 3 gives you 8. Negative 5 plus negative 3 gives you negative 8. And you notice that is the middle. That's the middle coefficient. And that's what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. So we're going to have x minus 5 times x minus 3 equals 0. Then we let each factor equal 0. And so we know that x equals 5. And we know that x equals 3. So you see what's happening graphically. You have a graph. It's a sketch. It's not the exact. And we have the x-intercept, which is going to be 3, 0. And this is going to be 5, 0.